Hello everyone, welcome to EWOW 6B. My name is Meowie, 12 Central staff member and resident cat lover, and I'm joined by noef to bring you this round's results and statistics.
Hello, I'm noef, another 12 Central moderator and the team's resident Pokemon enjoyer. Without further ado, let's move on to what you guys are all waiting for. As a reminder, the round 6 prompt was to give a false reason for a true fact, and 2,763 plus 4 contestants submitted their responses to it. You lovely voters cast your ballots, and soon we will see 138 contestants gain extra lives. On the contrary, if your response does not place in the top 1,411, you are unfortunately losing a life this round.
This round, 1,299 voters cast 5,024 votes. As per usual, 3 random people who voted at least 20 times were selected to receive a shoutout, and those 3 happened to be NumberGamer 2024, RWBY Ryko 888, and Nihonium LTE. Thank you all for voting so many times. Thanks to you, every single response got between 6 and 42 votes. The average amount of votes a response got was 19.47, which is slightly lower than last round, but still very good.
Speaking of lower than last round, let's move on to the age-old question, who won EWOW 6? This episode's first placer got a score of 85.74%, an excellent score even if it is the lowest winning score so far. The competition's getting tough, people. With the sciencey response, Pluto lost its planethood due to commitment issues, and it couldn't explan itself. EWOW 6's winner is Indoor Fish. Congratulations to you for beating out 2,763 plus 3 people. As a space aficionado myself, I adored this response, and the voters did too, with a very low 10% standard deviation among 17 voters on your response. In second, only 0.1% behind, with a score of 85.64%, is none other than Scorb. With a response, counting sheep helps with sleep, brains crash due to RAM overloads, you've gotten your 5th prize in 6 rounds. That's your 8th life! You're well on your way to becoming the life cap setter in EWOW 7. A clever computer response that uses an animal pun? Yes please. In third, continuing the trend of physics responses in the podium, with the response, protons attract electrons. They desire happiness in their lives, I'm positive, is Eric from Real Life. Congratulations on your first prize, Eric. It's well deserved with an atomic response like that. Moving on down the top 20, we have A. Sean Felgen, Gravel, Vortex Light, Evie Likes Bread, Wilma, Lyrical Tyrant, John Dubuk, Green Tree, Gold Investor, Me Like Pie 50, eWowzers AJL, Duckmaster, Purple Gaze, Starry Sprinkles, Spicy Man 33, 1212 Dennis, and Bowtie. Look at all these science puns. Delicious! Speaking of delicious, 5th placer Gravel uses sodium and tuna to justify the saltiness of the sea. For you avid TWOW historians, you might remember that Phantom Infinity tried something very similar in TWOW 3 and actually died. Seems like the voters have changed over the last 9 years. 6th placer Vortex Light uses another solar system reference to net a cool 84.38 score, less than 2% away from first place. Lyrical Tyrant in 9th place references a very well-known tenor GIF in another hilarious response about shoplifting. John Dubuk and Green Tree, 2 well-known TWOWers, place back-to-back in 10th and 11th with 2 biological responses. Green Tree? Biology? It was bound to happen. In 15th, with my personal favorite response, was Duckmaster, talking about how microwaves despise us for pushing their buttons. In 16th place is former 7-lifer Purple Gaze, gaining their 8th life alongside Scorb this round. Impressive! In 18th is Final 10 TWOWer Spicy Man 33, personifying their persona with a response that can be summarized as BANG, and the doctor is gone. Rounding out the top 20 is Bowtie with an excellent Flat Earth response.
Let's look at how some of the common false facts did this round amongst the crowd. The most common fact, the sky is blue, was a very simple concept. In fact, it might have been too simple for voters. Out of the 61 entries that included the phrase sky is blue, the average was only 36.69%. Space was a very common theme as well. Talking about the sun, or the moon, wasn't particularly liked too much. However, talking about planets did have a positive effect on score, and mentioning stars was even better. Another common theme within the round 6 responses was animals. As an animal lover myself, I'm glad to see that voters liked responses that talked about animals, as responses talking about cats, the most common animal, still performed pretty well, around 54% on average. Penguins were seen as even more unique and creative, but the best performing animal was sheep, done by just 4 entries, but having an amazing average of 69.56%. Due to the prompt's wording, it's reasonable that so many responses use the word because. In fact, almost half of the responses use the word. However, these responses did perform slightly under the median on average, with 48.66%. On to the life count stats. As more people get eliminated, this 0 life pillar is just going to keep getting larger and larger in comparison to all the others, so we're just going to remove it for now. Sadly, 1,190 people lost their final life this round, leaving EWOW at its final 2,570 after round 6. So the 1,190 of you, we hope you enjoyed your time in the competition, and thank you for playing. On a more positive note, out of the current 7 lifers, 4 of them prized yet again and gained an 8th life. Scorb and Purplegaze, who both reached the top 20 this round, along with Meowicat and frontrunner 40 Jumpman 256. This means that the life cap potential is raised yet again. However, keep in mind that the life cap will be set in stone next round no matter what. Speaking of our frontrunner 40 Jumpman, let's check the normalized rank standings. After yet another prize, 40 Jumpman is still in the lead, but Purplegaze, another 8 liver, overtakes Luzard for second and is slowly creeping up on 40 Jumpman's lead. Looking farther down the leaderboard, we can see NLCD, Dark, and Meowicat new to the top 10, and Scorb, Snoozing Newt, Chemo, and Fish new to the top 15. Even farther down, Westnid has the lowest average normalized rank out of everyone who hasn't lost a life yet, meaning they're our efficiency champion this round. They've stayed between 53 and 65% NR every round, which is impressively close to danger. Here's another statistic that's fun to look at: consistency. Consistency, put simply, measures how close your normalized ranks in each round are to your average normalized rank. So, someone who's placed in the same spot of the leaderboard every round would be very consistent, while someone who's been bouncing between the top and bottom would be very inconsistent or wild. The most consistent contestant is 40 Jumpman, which is perhaps expected as they've placed either in or super close to the prize zone every single round. In fact, most of the extremely consistent contestants have placed either in or close to the prize zone every round. However, I'd like to give a shout out to Eagle Master, who's been extremely consistent and still staying around 63% NR. On the opposite end, 96LB is our wildest contestant, with an insane 47.12 standard deviation of NRs. They've never placed between 30 and 90% in normalized ranks, meaning they've always been either near the very top or very bottom of the leaderboard every round. Also very wild are I'm the Joshy Boy, with 44.17 standard deviation, and Cary KH, our host, with 44.12 standard deviation. Speaking of Cary, let's show exactly where he placed this round.
Well, if you remember the previous graph, Cary unfortunately lost a life this round, which is a shame considering his response was voted highly numerous times. With his response, average human swallows 2 spiders yearly? How? Little Johnny devours billions. Cary got 2,271st with a score of 36.05%. Come on guys, this response was really funny. This also means that Cary has just 2 lives remaining. In a similar vein, what about the AI contestants? 77 AI entered the EWOW 6 arena, and a total of 57 AI make their way to EWOW 7. That's right, 20 AI lost their mechanical lives this round. Though this figure might seem good for the human contestants, the proportion of AI to human contestants continues to increase. 57 out of 2,763 minus 193 is 2.22%, almost 4 times the initial figure at the beginning of EWOW.
It's now time to announce the 7th EWOW prompt. Way back in the first season of TWOW, the 7th prompt asked contestants what they'd do if they became the next president. So, for the 7th prompt of EWOW, we're putting a spin on the concept. The prompt is, in a world of sentient objects, one object is running for president. Give an example of an object and what its campaign slogan would be. With so many different objects out there, there's definitely quite a lot of ways you can approach this prompt. For example, a valid response could be, as a pencil, my policies are sharp and to the point. The deadline to submit your EWOW 7 response will be Saturday, September 14th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Make sure to use the Google form in the description to submit your response. And now, with everything said and done, here are your Round 6 leaderboards.
Hello everyone, my name is Dark, your fellow EWOW host, video editor, data manager, and so on. I'd like to give a shout out to Loser this time around, not only for her past work in helping catch EWOW cheaters, but also for helping with editing for this episode. She's been a great helping hand for a long time now, so please give her a round of applause as she's now officially the newest member of the EWOW development team. To reiterate, we're still looking for more editors and artists to help make these episodes, so if you're interested, join the TWOW Central Discord server linked in the description and fill out the EWOW helper applications in the announcements channel. Anyway, that's all for me. Enjoy the final segment of Some Nerds podcast from last time. See ya!
I should probably... Well, I should mention that it was a randomized Nuzlocke too, so...
Okay. Like any logic to it? Like, did it try to keep power levels more or less the same going through it, or is it like true random? You can find Route 1 legendary, get your team wiped.
I almost fainted before I got to the point where like feigning starts to matter to a Route 201 Blastoise.
Ouch. What game did you say this was?
Platinum.
Platinum, right.
You think you're gonna win?
I don't think I'm going to win, actually. I fainted.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we could come back from this one, crew. What do we think? Man,
I don't think we're coming back from
Alright.
I don't think we're coming back from this one.
Wait, so this audio is going in EWOW 6, right? 6A?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, what does everyone think of their EWOW 6 responses so far?
I think my response has not been written because I don't know the prompt.
I think my response has not been written because I'm not a contestant.
I think... Ali, do you know the prompt? I don't know if you actually know the prompt.
I think so. Yeah, I do, but I haven't paid attention to it because that would be cheating.
Yeah, for the record, internally we've agreed to make me handle most prompt matters if you're listening in on this because I'm not a contestant, whereas the other TC mods, a lot of them are. So we don't want too many hands on the ball with that in case people feel like there's unfair collusion regarding prompt selection. But yeah, rest assured we're trying to keep it above board as much as possible in that regard.
That's true. I can confirm that I have not been given any spoilers for EWOW.
Do you want a spoiler now? And everyone
Yeah,
can hear
we
it?
can change that.
One of the contestants won EWOW 5. What the heck? And one of the contestants won EWOW 6 too. Actually, I should clarify that this was recorded. This was recorded before EWOW 5B released.
Yeah. This is a continuation of the 5A audio, if you actually listen to that. And if you did listen to that, I question the use of your time, but I thank you for that, I guess. So yeah.
Let us know if we should keep doing this.
Yeah, you can get in the comments, and if you really hated this, you can go, man, this really wasn't good. We didn't like it. Don't do it ever again. And we'll go, okay, we won't do it again.
We won't do it again. Bam! Kevin McLeod in your ears.
Kevin McLeod,
30 minutes.
Water flame if we get the licensing rights.
I'm just gonna make a song real quick, a 30-minute song to play over all the voting screens. Not gonna be a good song, but And then everything went silent. There's that just me. I don't know.
No. It's because I was trying to do something. Well, what are you gonna do when you show up to the voting screens and then you hear?
That's true.
I can't believe you have that as a soundboard.
I added it to the server just so I could play it.
Wait, there was a soundboard? Wait, hold on, I didn't hear it.
I didn't know we had soundboard here.
Turn off the soundboard. I'll play it again. Like imagine rolling up to the voting screens in EWOW 6A or like 7A, and then you just hear.
Wait, I don't hear it.
It's
Wait.
Sneaky Snitch.
Oh! I have a Candyland soundboard.
I only played Sneaky Snitch because I know it's royalty free, for the record. So be careful with what you play.
Is Candyland still copyright free?
I don't know.
I don't know. I can probably check, but for safety's sake, I'm not going to put it.
What's the song? Tobu?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if it's on the NCS.
It's not on NCS anymore. That's why I'm asking. Hold on.
Oh.
I can look this up.
I don't think it's licensed anymore. Yeah. I think. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier regarding to what sounds we were allowed to use, because somebody said, "Oh yeah, somebody's contract ended with NCS, so they're trying to retain rights of it." But then we're not sure where we stand legally with that, because I think you can't revoke copyright if you release it to the public domain or Creative Commons, but I'm not sure what license their audio was released under, so I'd rather err on the side of caution for now. We could probably talk to Tamtasar about that again later, since he.
Yeah, we'll have to fact check that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think my mom just came in the background out of nowhere and said my name.
I don't think we heard that.
I didn't hear it. Did not hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'll make a
I don't want to be doxxed in the EWOW 6 voting screens.
I'll double check around. It's 46 minutes and 30 seconds. Just in case, because I don't want that getting out. Yeah.
Speaking of music, have you guys listened to the new Porter Robinson album?
No, I haven't. What is it?
Nope.
It's Smile. It's currently my favorite album of 2024. I just generally like Porter Robinson stuff, so.
Yeah, they make cool stuff.
Oh yeah, I just looked it up. I think Candyland is copyright free. But I'm still not gonna play it because it's kind of. Hold on. Can you see if it's marked as free? Because not all of these are marked as free. Oh, Tobu Colors is free. And I know that's a popular one. Okay, Candyland is free.
Okay.
We can use Candyland in EWOW.
That's huge. All right, by the way, I think we have like 1 more minute or 2 more minutes to record audio, so Mr. Dell is
This
here.
is probably at the end of EWOW 6A voting screen, so thank you for.
It's probably
if you listen to all of this, thank you. Oh wait, Contestant Grids, true. If you're listening to this right now, thank you for listening to us ramble about stupid stuff. Am I allowed to say stupid?
I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm actually really surprised that none of us dropped a swear word throughout the entirety of this.
That's true.
I was expecting it to happen.
Like I know Dell said that that he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't join because there is almost a 0% chance he could join the voice call and have it stay PG.
I'm so proud of him.
Quoting from his message.
He didn't swear. Good job.
Congratulations.
You've won this Nickelodeon's Kid Choice Award for being a shining example to the youth, Mr. Dell. If you're listening back to this, we're also very proud of you. Good job.
That's true. Dell, we are proud of you.
All right, cool. I think that's as much as audio as we'll need for now. So thank you for listening. Thanks to you two for coming out. I'll probably convert this MP3 and ship it to Purple Gaze later as we slap it into the videos. If you have any final comments for the viewers.
See you in EWOW 6B.
Yeah. Shout outs
I
to
don't
the
know
contestant in the bottom left corner.
True. Shout out to the
True.
contestant in the middle right.
Shout out to the contestants on the top row right now.
All right, cool. I think that's good. We'll see you all later.
All right.
Next episode. Goodbye.
Have
Farewell.
fun.